Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Eden Road podcast, where on tonight's show, we're going to be going through our third win on the bounce, talking about some big headlines in football this week and doing a brief throw forward to Liverpool on Sunday. Joining me tonight, Craig. Craig, mate, enjoy the weekend?
Brilliant, mate. Fantastic. 3 on the bounce.
Yeah.
Couldn't be happier.
Exactly that. Couldn't be happier. And also making a long-awaited return to the Eden Road podcast. Callum, first of all, mate, where the bloody hell have you been?
I've been slacking, boys, but I hear my fans have been waiting for me to return. So, I'm back. We won't skip anything now. I'll be here every week until the end of the season. So watch this space.
That's what we like to hear.
Good to be back, all. Good to be back.
Remember, guys, just before we get going, if you haven't listened to the podcast before, please do share it around with your mates. Subscribe to our YouTube and Spotify channels, and also give us a follow on our socials. That's at the Eden Road on Twitter and at Eden Road Pod on Instagram. Right, West Ham, let's go. Callum, 3 wins on the spin, 3 top performances. Have the relegation whispers finally gone?
I don't think there was any there in the first place, to be honest with you. I mean, I think people were panicking after the Everton game, rightfully so. It was an absolutely dreadful performance. But, we've seen in the past where 1 win can turn into 2, and even in this case, 3. I fully believed in the squad. And they've proved it again. And the people who have come off the bench have proved a point as well, which is fantastic. You may have looked at the bench over the past 4 or 5 weeks with all the injuries we've had and said possibly not too much there, but they've gone on and they've proved that they're worth a chance in this Premier League side. So Thomas Frank's going to have some problems with some players, coming back from injury now. So, but no, great 3 wins on the bounce. Let's make it 4. Why not?
Exactly that. Craig, how would you assess the performance on Saturday?
Do you know what? I thought it was a perfect game for 75 minutes. Bar a 15-minute spell in the first half where they got their couple of goals. We were the better team for the majority of that game. We created so many chances, and the fact that we only scored 3 is the only negative I can really take from the game. And it's funny that that's a negative in itself. But 75 minutes of that game, we were the better team. It was a brilliant performance from the back to the front. Both goalkeepers that we had, back to the front, was just it was a spot on performance, bar a spell where they got their couple of goals.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one because they did get their couple of goals and then they got the tails up. But I think completely agree with you both. I was watching the game thinking we were on top. I watched Match of the Day back. I've seen the highlights several times, as I do with Brentford games, and we were on top pretty much the whole game. And I feel like West Ham probably did themselves an injustice because they got themselves into that 2-1 lead, and then for one reason or another, I think Moyes is a bit of a football terrorist, to be honest. With the players that he's got at his disposal, he sets up quite negatively. Like you'd think West Ham going 2-1 up away from home, scoring 2 really good goals, they'd actually go on and win the game. But as Mikel Antonio, just having Mikel Antonio up front in any Premier League side, honestly, pound for pound, I think he's the worst striker in the Premier League. What do you think about that? I think genuinely, pound for pound, worst striker in the league.
Easily. What I will say, what a fantastic challenge that was from him on Ben Rama. What a brilliant tackle that was for Ben Rama.
I know, I watched it in the highlights and saw Ben Rama screaming at him afterwards. I was thinking, rightly so, you bellend. Anyway, Callum, Neil Maupay, back at Brentford, back amongst the goals. We said on the last pod that he just needs to tap in a similar kind of fashion to the way Sharded did a tap in when he was going through a little bit of a barren spell. He got one on Saturday, got me some points in the fantasy too, which we love to see. Do you think he'll kick on now? Because, I mean, the performances have been there from him. Do you think he's going to kick on?
Massively. I mean, I think we've seen over the past few weeks, starting off with that Burnley game, what he could do with that header, which was unfortunately disallowed for him, and a bit unfortunate against Chelsea. I think just that little bit low of confidence, possibly. He could have tried to walk it into the back of the net, which I think he was trying to do, but still a bit unfortunate there. But I think he looks a quality player. I've always said, he had a lot to say last week. And the Everton fans kind of bit back at him, actually, that he feels he's at a club again that he's appreciated and the fans love him. I think that's only going to make him a better player. He's working well with in the 3, obviously with Mbremo and Wissa, and absolutely. The answer to your question, he's going to kick on. I can see him scoring over 10 goals this season. It's a bold statement, but I can see him doing it. Like he's creating opportunities for himself. He's scoring. That was a good goal. You know, look, all right, he was only about 5 yards out, but he still had to go and score it on Saturday. So, and he probably wouldn't have been expecting the ball because it was a hit shot from Onyeka. So no, he's going to kick on. He's going to kick on, score some goals, and do very well for us. And I'm very happy to see him get that goal for us.
You mentioned his goals and the potential amount of goals that he could get, but I actually think his all round play, and it goes to show that sort of when you're at a club like Everton, no disrespect to Everton, but they have been shite for the last 2 years. When you're at a club like Everton, it's just difficult to get going for any striker. We've seen it with CalvertLewin, although he has had a lot of injuries, but any kind of striker that goes there, even Beto this season, I think he's only scored a couple. But Neil Maupay's link-up play, I think we've spoken about it before on the podcast. Even in the Championship, as quite a small guy, he's got quite a small frame. His link-up play is really good, and it's quite unexpected. There was a couple of times in the game, Craig, where I saw him pick up the ball, and it was in a difficult situation. He kind of great first touch to set himself. He'd take one player out of the game, and then he'd start the attack and bring in Wissa and Mbeumo. And there was a chance in the second half that if we'd have scored, it would have been a goal of the season. Like with the interchange between Neil, I think Neil picked it up, then gave it to Mbeumo, then Mbeumo to Wissa, then he fed Neil, and it kind of just skimmed past the post. But his link-up play, Craig, I just think is phenomenal for someone so small.
We say that it's for someone so small, but it's the stocky players like him that actually put themselves about a bit more. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to liken him to him, but you think of players like Kante, who's not very big, but he's quite stocky. Shaqiri, obviously the widest football player Stoke have ever had. But he's short, he's stocky, he can put himself about. But when you've got a low centre of gravity, the ball sticks to him and he can move it around. Like you said, that bit of play where, unfortunately, the final shot's gone a bit wide, but him, Brian and Wissa are linking up perfectly when they start as a three, or even when Maupay comes on later in the game as well.
Callum, who's got a better cross, Jensen or Brian? Because there was a few in this game. I mean, Jensen's one for the third goal, was unbelievable. The whip that he gets on it, the pace that he gets on it. And Brian had a few as well for the second goal. He put it on a sixpence for Mavropanos to tap it into his own net. But they both just blinded, aren't they? The technique that they have.
Massively. I'd say I don't even know if I could answer that question, to be honest with you. It's both have incredible crossing capabilities. I would say, if I was going to say one of them, I would say Jensen. Partly because I just look at the whip he had on that ball on Saturday, and I say, bloody hell, that's impressive. Like you can't teach that kind of stuff. It is that good, and he's only going to go and kick on, I think, and get a few more assists. He has done it in the past. He's had a few this season already. I mean, another one's to list. I mean, what a header from Collins as well. He had to put it in the back of the net. But no, I'd say Jensen. I'd say just about.
Yeah, you mentioned Collins. I think we should talk about some standout performers, Craig. Nathan Collins, the last two games, has been one of our best players, if not the best player. I think he didn't really, maybe the defensive performance at Chelsea was so good from everyone that it didn't maybe get the props that would make him the best player on the pitch. But I think on Saturday he really wasn't
he? Yeah, 100%. I'm sure I've said it a few times already, but the centre-back pairing, if we play as a back four of him and Ethan Pinnock, is just unreal. It's unreal. It's probably one of, if not the best centre-back pairing we had when they're both on their day.
Yeah.
But having a player as well, just to give him a bit of kudos for coming on a bit later on, when Ben Mee comes on, he just brings that bit of assurance into that back line as well, even more so than they already do. But Nathan Collins has just been solid. He's making his price tag look like a bargain, and a lot of Brentford fans were a bit concerned about how much money we'd spent on him in the summer. But he's absolute bargain, if you ask me.
Yeah, I think we also need to give a shout out to Vitaly Janelt putting in a shift at left back. It's a weird one with Janelt, because when we've kind of spoken about, when we're thinking about the next game, we've always kind of given one of the left back positions to a natural left back in Mads Roerselev or Aaron Hickey or whoever it is. But Callum, Vitaly Janelt puts in a shift at left back, not Craig. Craig's in the stands, not in the bloody game. Anyway, yeah, Callum. Vitaly Janelt puts in a shift at left back, and there's a little sequence towards the end of the first half where he whips in a ball on the kind of half volley, and Brian does really well to even get a shot away, let alone kind of capture the pace of the ball, and he kind of just whistles past the post. But he's kind of going under the radar. We'll talk about sort of where or how we think we're going to line up against Liverpool, but I think Janelt deserves big credit, Callum.
Massively. I mean, look, Hickey especially is big shoes to fill, and obviously Rico Henry as well with the injury that he suffers at Newcastle. So the pressure was on him, and I look at he firstly started off. Was it the Burnley game? I think he was at left back. I think it was Burnley. I think it was. And he's kicked on massively. And I think we've seen it before once or twice with him at left back. But what I like from him, he gets forward. Whenever he gets forward, he comes back. He tracks back his man. He gets stuck into challenges. He's obviously got great crossing ability, as you've said as well. Thomas Frank's actually got a dilemma on his hands here. Does he keep playing him at centre mid? And it's great because now Brentford will probably say to themselves, "Do we really need to go and sign a left back?" If we can keep our centre mids injury free, and he can play there with as well as he's been playing, then personally I'd say we don't need to. But it's great. It's great to see a player slot in as easily as I mean, Frank's done it before with Godos, for example. He's one notably who's done that before. Has fitted into a left back, right back position in the past. So he's not afraid to do that with his players, and he trusts them to do that. But no, full credit to Janelt. He's fitted in nicely, talks to his back line, great crossing as we've touched upon. And yeah, all round great performance. And I think he'll do well I think he'll have a difficult task, of course, on Sunday. But I think he'll do very well. I think he'll do very, very well on Sunday.
Do you see him? Well, actually, no, we'll say that until we get to Liverpool because we'll talk about shape and how we expect to set up. But I think you're right, though, in terms of what Rico Henry maybe struggled to offer and what Janelt brings to the left-back position. He kind of has, because he's a central midfielder, he has better attributes on the ball as compared to Rico Henry. So he offers a little bit more going forward. His touches are better. They're quite neat. So it's interesting. He is going to have a dilemma. I think with the injury to Aaron Hickey, signing a fullback in January might be a good idea, just considering we've now got Aaron Hickey out for however long it is. We don't really know yet. And Rico Henry as well. If that's the case, then we're kind of relying on Aya and Rösler as our only fullback. So it might be a good idea to maybe get in a left back in January. Anyway, we'll go on to, I think, any more Burnley chat? Either of you? Anything you want to mention? Just because...
Well, rather talk about West Ham. Burnley.
Any more West Ham? Claret and blue, mate. Claret and blue.
Just to go back to a point you asked Callum about who do you think could whip a ball in better, Jensen or Aubameyang. I'm with Callum on Jensen. Obviously, he's our dead ball specialist and he is our player that can create stuff. But I just want to give Brian a massive shout out on the work that he's done using his right foot. For so long, we were seeing a player who was massively reluctant on using his right foot. Every opportunity he got, he would pull it back onto his left. But that first goal on Saturday, he done really well to dig that cross out to get it across the goal in the first place. Obviously, then it's been cleared. Wiss has had his shot and whatnot. But Brian's doing fantastically on that right-hand side, digging the crosses out with that right foot that he's got. I think he's done really well.
Yeah, I think the only time I can remember of him using his right foot in the Championship was it against Bournemouth at home. Not in the playoffs, but when we played them at home, I think it was during COVID. But I struggled to remember a time when he used his right foot, but there was one time when he did, and it was around the time where everyone was thinking, people can telegraph what Brian's going to do because he's so heavily left-footed. So you kind of know that he's going to try and cut in his left foot. And then one game, I think it was Bournemouth at home, he uses his right, digs out a cross, and I think he picks out Tariq Fosu in the box. Might be wrong there, but
Sky Sports, I think I do remember back post Tariq Fosu. Yeah, I think we won 3-2 in that game. I think it was, wasn't it, in COVID?
Yeah.
In front of no fans. Wasn't it?
I think he also done it. I don't know if it was Brian, but Palace last season when Janelt scored it with the last the last head of the game, he got that cross in. I'm sure he dug that out with his right foot then.
No, that was Janelt into Wissa. Was it not?
No, it weren't.
Palace
No,
last season.
Palace at home.
Oh, at home. Right. Okay. Sorry. Continue.
We drew 1-1 in both places, I think, didn't we?
Yeah.
But we equalised with literally the last touch of the game, and I'm sure that was a Brian cross who was right for Jan to equalise.
Yeah, no, I think you might be right. Anyway, we'll I think we should talk a little bit about Ivan Toney, considering the last time we recorded, it has been reported that we've set £100 million price tag on it. Although I was listening to an Athletic podcast the other day, and David Ornstein said there wasn't much truth behind those. But regardless of that, Craig, what do you make of that valuation? Because there's been a lot of talk about it online.
I think it's what he's worth to us. I don't think it matters about what he's worth to other teams. It's what he's worth to us. You know, when Brighton backed 100 million on Caicedo, people were questioning that price tag then. But it's what players are worth to the club that they play for at the time. For me, I wouldn't let Ivan Toney go for less than 100 million because he's so pivotal to the way that we've been playing. He's priceless to the way that for us last season, shall I say. If we didn't have Ivan Toney, we wouldn't have played the way that we've done. So if we want to say he's worth 100 million, he's worth 100 million pounds to us. If we don't want to sell him for less than 100 million, we don't sell him.
Callum, what are you thinking?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with Craig. You're looking at an England striker here as well. Obviously, a homegrown player, which I think adds that extra value to him as well. And it's just his whole capability of holding the ball up, his set pieces, his long shots, for example, penalty taking with his record. That doesn't come cheap. And, we are looking, I mean, people, for example, and I touched upon a tweet the other day, in fact, people saying he's not worth 100 million, yet there's Manchester United going and spending 72 million pounds on a striker who's had one good season in Europe, and they feel that that's worth it. Well, Ivan Toney has had countless seasons across all leagues, scoring goals for fun. So if you think someone like that is worth 72 million pounds, and he ain't doing anything this season, Ivan Toney, regardless of what's happened over the last 6 months, is 100% worth 100 million. And do you know what? If no one wants to pay it, then screw them. That's what I'd say. The fact of the matter is, look, Ivan Toney, give him 6 months, he'll go and prove his point again, and then people will come back saying, okay, we should have paid that money. Simple as that. I don't care about the situation with how long's left on his contract. You're going to get a goal scorer there. I mean, I think if he's going to go somewhere, a lot of rumours about Arsenal. Personally, I think Chelsea, because, all right, the club's in absolute shambles at the moment, and they have to play against 9 men to even get a result. But, the fact of the matter is, he could just go for the money. And realistically, he wouldn't have to change probably anything about his lifestyle. He could live in the same place, still have a club in West London, get paid good money for it as well. What more would you realistically want? So the answer to your question, 100%, 100 million. If I can see some clubs making some bids here, including some players, those kind of things. Apparently, Eddie Nketiah was apparently linked, according to an article, with us with a huge bid from Arsenal. Again, I would laugh that off in a second because he ain't worth it. I've said this for countless years. Eddie Nketiah is not worth it. So do not bother Brentford with that simple, ridiculous offer if they come calling. So anyway,
plus we'll be able to reach Todd Bowley for 100 million anyway because he ain't got
easily.
Nothing.
He'll get a big contract at Chelsea as well. He'll get a huge contract of like 7-8 years. Again, I'm sure Chelsea will find a way to do that. So that is what he'll want. An 7-8 year contract. Take him through to 35. Job done. You're sorted. So
I think after watching the Chelsea-Tottenham game on Monday night, I think if any club are in need of a striker that can put away chances, it is Chelsea. The amount of chances that Nicholas Jackson missed was just comical.
Oh, massively. He was comical, honestly. He was comical against us, but flipping heck, that hat-trick. I mean, I've seen some in my time, but I mean, I think any of us could have scored that realistically, couldn't we? But no, yeah, Chelsea. 100 million, simple as that. If you don't want to pay it, then I'm sure Giles and Benham will probably laugh it off as they usually do. He's got a value. He has got a big value to us. And realistically, someone will pay it, I imagine.
I'm not sure if it'll be Chelsea, though, just because of their whole model, their whole mantra of we've got to sign players under 25. And if they sign Ivan Toney at 28 on a 7 or 8 year contract, it just kind of goes against their kind of model. But Another rumor that I saw on Twitter today, Christian Norgard apparently being eyed up by Spurs. Don't know how much truth there is behind it. We'll discuss it anyway because there's been quite a few back and forths on Twitter about how much we'd sell him for. Craig, how much is Christian Norgard worth in today's market?
To Brentford or in the market?
In the market.
In the market, I see Norgard rated between 30 and 40 million pounds.
Yeah. I've seen some.
Hang on a minute.
Oh, you're one of the. I was just about to say I've seen some ridiculous shouts saying that he's worth about 70 million. Callum, are you that person?
No, I'd say he's worth about 50 to 60, partly because of the fact he's just signed a long-term contract with the club. So realistically, you look at what he gives to the club, you look at the contract he has with the club as well, easily between 50 and 60 million pounds, and he plays regularly for his country. So, and he's, everything he offers Brentford Football Club. Personally, I couldn't see him leaving. Simple as. Regardless of what
I was just going market value. I didn't go club value.
Look, at the end of the day, 50 to 60 million pounds is where Norgard is worth. It's as simple as that. And yet again, if people don't want to pay that, then simply there is the door, in my opinion. There you go. That's the value. That is the value for him.
That's value to us. That's the value to us. I totally agree, between 50 and 60 million. But if we're looking at what's out there realistically, if we was looking at a player like Norgard and he didn't play for Brentford, that's what we would value him at. To us, 100 million. Chuck him in that price tag with Ivan Toney, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, no, he's been one of the rocks from a long time ago as well. A lot of people probably not from a kind of Brentford background wouldn't know that the spine of our team goes all the way back to the Championship. But we talked about it on the podcast before. Anyway, West Ham. We'll finish with West Ham, not Burnley. We beat Burnley, but it's West Ham. We beat West Ham as well. We'll finish with that great performance. On to Liverpool. We'll get to Liverpool, but first we've got this week's hot topic. I thought this week there's only kind of one thing to talk. Well, there's a couple of things to talk about. There's Mikel Arteta's comments on refs, so it means we're going to be talking about refs. And there's also a huge game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Monday night gone, which was again dominated by refs. I've got a few questions, but just before, I need to say that I have just finished recording an episode with Neil Atkinson of the Anfield Wrap, previewing the Liverpool game that we have on Sunday. And we do, well, I don't, Neil Atkinson does go into a lot of detail about his problems with refs and all of that jazz. So there's about a 20-minute segment on refs that you can look forward to, which will be dropping tomorrow night at the time of recording. And as he says, he doesn't care about refs. Okay, he doesn't, but he does talk about it for quite a long time. So we'll just keep going. First of all, Craig, what's your take on the Newcastle goal? Should it have been disallowed? Should Raya have done any better just to bring in a Brentford element?
I'll start with the Raya point, and I think yes, it should have actually done better. But what happened there is what I was saying he was guilty of at Brentford and previous goals that he's conceded at Arsenal, where he plays that high line. He plays so close to the ball that chance that goes over him, it happens consistently, which is what I said he was guilty of before. And lo and behold, it's happened again. But there are so many points that I'm sure someone's thrown up a bit of a mock-up of what the VAR chat was, but I don't think that's real.
I saw it.
But like, it's so laughable that you can almost believe that it's real. You always believe that it's real. I mean, you've got the ball going out of play. You've got the ball going out of play. You've got the possible offside. You've got possible handball. You've got a possible foul on the defender. You know, it's a bit of a joke. Whether the ball went out or not is irrelevant to what I thought was handball. It's very clearly bounced off of his arm to Anthony Gordon's feet. I don't like Anthony Gordon anyway. Hope he never plays football again. It drops to his feet and he scores. But it was handball. That's the problem that I have. When you look at it, the defender's leaning forward the whole time. Yes, his arms are in the back, but the defender's leaning forwards consistently. It was the handball, and that would be the one that bugged me if that happened against Brentford.
Yeah, I think with a foul, I watching the game, I didn't think it was a foul, just purely because I think Gabriel was kind of stooping over, and the touch on his back, when you slow it down, it looks bad, but he's literally kind of he's just put his hands on his back just because he's there, as opposed to he's not really put any force into it. Callum, what did you make of Arteta's comments post-match? Lots to unpack with the comments, with what followed, with the reaction, with Postecoglou's comments on Monday. What did you make of Arteta's comments?
Oh, he's an absolute fool, in my opinion, to be honest with you. Listen, at the end of the day, he's just making it about him. He's learning off Arsenal fan TV, realistically, isn't he? Just moaning, literally. Like, at the end of the day, the decision's been made. It's as simple as that. Now, whether you like it or not, you don't have to go out and talk absolute nonsense like that. I hope the FA come down massively and just give him a massive ban so we don't have to listen to his garbage. Simple as that. But he's just making it about him. And the fact of the matter is, you know, he's lucky to even had 11 men on the pitch. Like the foul that happened in was it the first half, I think, where
Guimaraes on Jorginho.
That's the one. And you're just like stupidity like that. And he's got the cheek to come out after and say what's happened. It's nonsense in my opinion. The fact of the matter is there was no conclusive evidence. Okay, I would look at camera angles yet again. There wasn't the right camera angle yet again for them to conclusively say that ball had gone out of the field to play. So realistically, they've got to stick with their decision. It's as simple as that. As no matter how much you dislike it, and I would say, do you know what I would say? You know, it is frustrating. Completely get the point, but the decision's been made. You can't do anything about it. Like, end of. And to say the FA is against them, and then the whole Arsenal statement putting something out on their bloody website and Twitter. What kind of nonsense is this all about? Honestly, it's ridiculous. Honestly, just stop moaning. All right. If the goal was disallowed, 0-0. Okay, fair enough. But probably Newcastle did enough to go and win that game. Realistically, Arsenal didn't offer anything.
They were shite. They were literally
dreadful.
They're one
probably going to lose tonight. They're going to lose tonight. I hope they're going to lose tonight as well, because that would be good entertainment. That would be bloody good entertainment. And then what's he going to say? But no, it's nonsense, really. Nonsense.
I agree with the things you've said, Callum. I don't like Arteta. I think he's a bit of a clown. But I don't think people are outraged at the fact that he kind of spoke out about it and showed a bit of emotion. I don't understand what the problem is. The fact that people are saying he should get fined by the FA for his comments. It's like, why the hell are we allowed to have an opinion? Everyone else is allowed to have an opinion, journos, pundits, but a manager can't come out after the game and say the refs have been shit. Do you know what I mean, Craig?
Yeah, 100%. They should have the right to come out and criticise him. You know, they're under the spotlight. Referees this season are under the spotlight. People need to be calling them out, or even just VAR needs to be calling VAR out consistently until it's all done and dusted, because it can't keep going on like this.
Yeah, I think
I'll tell you a way. Sorry to disturb you both. I'll tell you a way to stop this from happening is, I've said this before on the podcast, bring back referee interviews at the end of the game. They used to do it up to, I think, 2004, 2005 season. It was actually a quite interesting viewing, actually, hearing the point of view of each referee as to, a couple of decisions in the game. Nowadays, they get off in their little van, they go home, and that's job done. Let's hear what they've got to say about the decisions. Then the managers wouldn't have to come out after and say, why has this happened? Why has that happened? Let the referees explain why these decisions have happened, and then we wouldn't even have to talk about it. There you go. Job done.
I think that a former manager or player should be involved in the VAR room, because they'll be able to look at it and know how the game flows and go, that ain't a foul. That ain't a foul.
Yeah, I think if they took your suggestion, Callum, and they came out after the game, I think there'd be a bloody whole podcast after the Chelsea game. There's so many incidents. It's going bit by bit.
It'd be great fun. It'd be great fun.
Something I wanted to ask. It's an interesting thought that I had the other day. We're all going crazy about this instant Barclays Classic on Monday night, right? Because it had everything. It had controversy, it disallowed goals, it had red cards, it had all of it. But the reason it's a classic, right? And VAR has a part to play in the fact that it's a classic. If there is no VAR, we don't have any of the disallowed goals, we don't have any red cards, we don't have anything. So I don't know what people, but this is the thing. When I was kind of looking at some of the analysis, everyone's saying, "Oh my god, this is the best game this season." It's so refreshing to see such an amazing game. We don't have that amazing game without VAR. So
I don't believe. Yeah. Sorry, Mike. You were saying, go on.
no,
Carry on.
so it's kind of like we're now at a point where everyone's kicking off about VAR every week. So what do we do? Do we bin it off? Do we change something? Because I've seen a lot. The tide started to turn on VAR. A lot of people were saying before, we've got to stick with it. It's here to stay. But now I think after Postecoglou's comments, especially about how he's been against it from the start, and you kind of see the contrast in managers between Postecoglou and Arteta. Even though a lot of people are replacing Postecoglou, but everyone's he didn't have anything to dispute. I think we should judge him when he actually has decisions go against him. But Craig, what is the solution? Are we binning off VAR? Are we making changes to it? What's going to happen?
I hate to say that VAR is here to stay because I don't want it to. It completely breaks the flow of the game. Like you've so rightly noted down, the ball was only in play for 23 minutes of that game, or I'm sure that's sort of something like that. Anyway, It was VAR. VAR made that game interesting, but it also ruined the outcome of the game. The decisions that were made, when you look at that Udogie 2-footed challenge on Raheem Sterling, that's a red card. I don't know what they're seeing there. That's a red card. And then we're talking about the red card that Romero got. Was it Jackson that was offside? It went through Jackson's leg. He was offside. So they've got to go back to the previous incident, which was the red card. But surely they have to look back further to the first phase of that play, which was Raheem Sterling diving in the box to get a penalty. Why aren't they going back to that? Because if he'd have just stopped the game for Sterling diving, Romero wouldn't have got sent off. But to answer it, mate, it's here to stay, really, isn't it? It's here to stay, unfortunately.
The problem is, Craig, if you're going to go all the way back to an incident like that, then we're going to be there till next week. That's the issue at the end of the day. I agree that VAR should be looked at because the referees now, and they touched upon this on Monday, they're so scared now of making the wrong decision. I didn't enjoy that. I did not enjoy that game, to be honest with you, on Monday night. I'm completely against what people were saying. It was comical in parts. They were stopping the game for, decisions that, offsides that were clearly not offside. It even happened at the game with us on Saturday with Bowen, with them apparently looking at a handball. They're so scared of making the wrong decision. It's comical at times. They did make some good decisions, granted, but some of the other ones were. It was embarrassing. 13 minutes of added time in the first half, 13 minutes of added time in the second half. I mean, the one where it led up to the Chelsea penalty as well. They were looking at 3 or 4 different incidents, and I'm thinking to myself, what the hell's going on? They were going through every incident one by one. And again, they're so scared of making the wrong decision. I mean, but they need to seriously look at it. But what can they do realistically? That's the problem.
I think if they went back to, if they just binned it all together, we'd be kind of saying the same things about all these decisions that they'd be getting wrong. I mean, that's the whole point VAR was brought in the first place, to get more decisions right, which on average it does. But I feel like now they've kind of put VAR in. There is no way out, because if we drop it, there's going to be wrong decisions. If we keep it, there's going to be wrong decisions. Either way, there's going to be wrong decisions. So we may as well just fuck it off.
Let's just think about this game that we've got coming up this weekend. Let's just say we lose this game 1-0, but they've been VAR off for this weekend. We lose 1-0. We watch the highlights, and Mo Salah is marginally offside. The conversation that we're going to have on next week would be, if we had VAR, that game wouldn't have finished 1-0. We'd have drawn it 0-0. So it's kind of better the devil you know, or we're stuck between a rock and a hard place. At the moment. We're so deep into VAR's shit that no one knows if we can break this. I don't think we can.
Right, that's enough of the VAR chat. And remember, guys, if you want some more VAR chat, it is coming your way tomorrow. I have a long discussion with Neil. I say discussion, it wasn't a discussion. I have a big discussion. I got talked
a one-way chat. Yeah.
A one-way chat with Neil Atkinson. And just remember, at the end of that chat, he says that he doesn't care about VAR. He doesn't. Just remember that, okay? We'll move on. We've got Liverpool. First of all, Callum, lineup-wise, without Aaron Hickey, what are we thinking? Are we going to stick Vitali at left back? Obviously, we're going to go to a back five, so he'd be playing as a wing back of sorts. So, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think back five. Janelt still at left back. Obviously, it's just a question of the midfield and well, who do you drop realistically for bringing me in? Like that's the problem. I don't know what you think, Mike, but it's a hard one, really. I mean, it's you look at the performances from on Yeka in particular. Can you drop him after what he's done of late? I don't think you can.
I mean, I think an option that we would have in midfield, I don't know if Thomas Frank will go for it, is that Yarmolik.
Yeah.
Yarmolik. That's what we're going with. Yarmolik has been really good recently, and I feel like if Vitali was to drop out of that midfield three, then he might be an apt replacement in there just because he's so far. Watching the Luton game on Monday night against Liverpool, I was a little disappointed with Liverpool's performance. They had a lot of chances, a lot of possession. And considering Luton haven't quite turned Kenilworth Road into a fortress, I was just a little bit disappointed with their performance. So is that cause for optimism, Callum, or were you expecting a different game on Sunday? I mean, Liverpool are a formidable force. I was and he said that he fancies them as title challengers this season. I can't see a reason why not.
Liverpool, Liverpool, not a chance. I would say, listen, you look at when we went back there in May time, and we were unlucky, I think, to lose that game. To be honest with you, we played incredibly well in that game on I think it's a Saturday night or something like that. So I don't see a reason. Again, we're full of confidence. Go there, put in exactly the same performance that we have of late. And go and frustrate the crowd. We like to break the game up at times. Go and just slow the game down, frustrate that crowd because they'll get on to the referee. They'll get on to the players if things aren't going their way. I don't see a reason why we can't go there again and go and pick up a win. We went to Manchester United. We were unlucky at Manchester United. We went to Chelsea, completely played them off the park. Why can't we go and do that at Liverpool? I don't think they're all that. They're all that. They're all through Salah. Salah is the one person they look at is their main talisman. So keep him out of the game. I'm telling you now, we'll go there and win. Hands down, we'll go down there and win happily.
I think you're doing them a disservice. I think that they're more than Salah. They're more than Salah. I think Szoboszlai in midfield looks a real player. They've got McAllister. Oh no, McAllister's suspended, so he won't be there. But they've got Szoboszlai midfield. They've got Diogo Jota, who is a tricky customer at times. They've got Darwin Núñez, who's just pure chaos as a footballer. He gets himself so many chances, spurns most of them, but he does get into these situations where it looks like he might score. I think we've got nothing to lose when we go up there. Realistically, from the last 3 games, we've got 9 points. So I wouldn't mind us even going to a 4. I know we won't because we want to win every game, but even going to a 4 and just thinking, you know what, we've got 9 points from the last 3 games. We're probably looking at all 3 of those thinking we'd take sort of 6. Or either way we're going, I'd take them 4. But I think we need to go up there with the attitude that we've got nothing to lose, especially going into the international break. It would be such a great boost for us to win 4 on the bounce and take 3 points off Liverpool, which we haven't done yet in the Premier League.
Big time at Anfield. I mean, it's one thing I think we need to utilise again. I'm sure Thomas Frank and his team are looking at it. Is how they struggled against us with our set pieces. We utilised them so well over the last 2 seasons against Liverpool. So again, I think get those opportunities to get that ball into the box. With whether it's from free kicks, set pieces, or whether it's from throw-ins, corners, anything, because they really did not like what we were doing to them. I look back at the home games in particular, last season, and they could not deal with anything in that first half. And we didn't do it as much at Anfield last season, so we know their weaknesses. And let's go and utilise them. You know, we've got a big lineup. Especially if Ben Mee comes in as well. You know, he can cause a few problems. Obviously, Collins as well. You know, we've got Norgard likes to get in there. You know, let's go and get some set pieces. Let's get the ball in the box. Let's create some opportunities, and anything can happen. Anything can happen. But I'm optimistic. I'm really optimistic with this weekend. This could backfire big time, but you know, I can see it going well. I can see it going well on Sunday.
Yeah, let's hope, mate. Let's hope. And remember, if you want a bit more on Liverpool, we do chat about Liverpool. It's not just about ref. So if you want a bit more about Liverpool, do go check out the podcast with Neil Atkinson. That's dropping tomorrow evening as at the time of recording. I think that will be a good place to wrap up the podcast for this evening. The Elam podcast will be back next week to discuss that Liverpool game on Sunday. And we also have a couple of special episodes planned for the international break with two very good guests that I'm sure a lot of people will want to hear as well. I was thinking about doing maybe a tier list episode with ex-Brentford players, Callum. Would you be into that?
Let's do it. Let's do it. And I'll tell you what, before you go, everyone, I told you on my last episode, Frank Onyeka will become good. And guess what? It's happened. Where are the doubters now? There you go. Job done.
I saw some mixed replies on Twitter about some people saying he played really well on Saturday. Some people were saying he had a stinker.
He's played brilliantly, and look at all the votes now on the Griffin Park grapevine. So, you know, I've always been a fan. Big up Frank Onyeka. Keep going, my son. The goal will come. The goal will come. But no, get some old faces on it. It'd be good to see them. And relive some fantastic moments we've had supporting Brentford Football Club over, you know, I mean, me over 15 years. So it'll be great to get some forward people if you can on it, Mike. So yeah, try your best. Try your best.
We've got a couple of guests. I'm thinking about doing a tier list episode as well with ex-Brentford players, which will be a lot of fun. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And remember, guys, just before we leave, if you haven't listened to the podcast before, please do share it around with your mates. Subscribe to our YouTube and Spotify channels. And also give us a follow on our socials. That's at the Elam Road on Twitter and at Elam Road Pod on Instagram. Callum, it's been a pleasure, mate. Craig's gone now, but we'll see him and also you next week.
See you later, all. Great to be back.